What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another John boat to bass boat conversion video. So usually in my videos I will time lapse the wiring just because it takes so freaking long to do wiring in a boat or wiring in anything. It takes the longest, so I time lapse it just to make the video shorter. But today I'm going to show y'all how easy it really is. When I first started building this boat last year, or on the first build, I was like, man, this wiring is gonna be hard. How am I gonna do it? But once I figured it out, it's really simple. So let's get into it. So here is pretty much everything you're gonna need for making connections. So in most boats, for the most part, it is 14 gauge wire. There is 8 gauge or 6 gauge wire on trolling motors, but for the most part, 14 gauge will do. This is marine grade wire, tin copper wire. Guys, you have to use marine grade wire. Don't cheap out on your wire. You want this to last, and to make it last, marine grade is the way to go. So first you got your wire, then you got your connectors. The main part of this is connecting wires together, and there is a crap ton of different kinds of connectors, all different sizes, but the main goal for all of these connectors is to get it connected to the wire. Put a wire in there and make it connected. So I'm only going to be showing one connection with these butt connectors here, but it's all the same. You can use this same technique for every single type of connector. Next up, you're going to need a heat source. So I just use this. This is a wireless soldering iron and a torch all in one, but it runs off butane. So I got some butane here. Next up, you're going to need some marine heat shrink tubing. Guys, if you get heat shrink tubing, make sure it is marine grade. Make sure it is adhesive lined. When you melt this stuff, it melts the glue, and that melts it to the wiring. We'll talk about that later on when we're doing it. And next up, you will need a pair of crimpers, something to cut the wire and crimp the wire. This is like $9 from Walmart. Super awesome. It is all sizes in one. You just pinch it and it does it automatically. On the last boat build, I used one that had different holes for different size wires, and it sucked. This is way quicker, way better, and like $12 at Walmart. So go get one of those. Definitely worth it. But this is pretty much everything you need to make a connection. So this is going to be a pretty basic, just how to connect the wire. When I'm actually doing the electrical on this boat, I will talk about the fuse blocks, the batteries, and all that, connecting all that type of stuff, but that's later on down the road. I'm not there yet. So for this video, it's just a really quick connection. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and get this light wired up. Some of y'all probably know how to do this already, but some of you might not. So first off, crimp your wires. For these small little bitty wires, you're not supposed to do this, but what I do is I go over, I crimp too much of it. Get out of there. So crimp too much, pull it out. Once again, crimp too much, pull it out. Once again, you're not supposed to do this, but everyone does it. I bend over the wires, and that is so it fits in this 14 gauge connector that I have. Where's the connector? There is the connector. All your 14 gauge connectors will be blue, and you want the marine grade connectors that have the adhesive inside there. Once you melt it, that adhesive melts, and you can see it melt to the wire. Next up, these 14 gauge wires are way too small for this to melt around. So what you want to do is you want to grab a smaller size heat shrink tubing. I cut it in half. That's a little excessive, that is a lot, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I cut it in half, and I go ahead and put that onto the wire. I'm gonna go ahead and heat it up here. Another cool tool I found was this wireless torch and wireless soldering iron. Pretty freaking awesome. So as you see, that is starting to glow, and it is a heat gun. So I'm just gonna heat this tubing and shrink it around the wire, and that just makes it thicker. So my connector will actually have something to connect to. This heat shrink is also marine grade. It has the same adhesive on the inside, adhesive lined. That is what you want to use for all your wiring in your boat. Alright, there's one. Let's go ahead and grab the other one that I lost. Oh, there it is. Alright, so there's that. So now we are ready to connect it, but first I need to grab some more heat shrink. All right, so next up we got some 1/4 inch tubing. You want to throw this on your wires before you connect it. If you connect it, there's no going back. You cannot put it on after it's connected, obviously, right? But that is a step I always forget. I always forget to add this on, and then I'm like, oh crap, can't do it now. So black wire is negative, black goes to black. Let's go ahead and get the butt connector connected to the smaller side, because that side is the side that gives you more problems. Put it in, hold it, and then crimp it down tight. I go super hard just because it is a smaller wire. This connector is not made for this size wire, which is why I folded it over. Once again, not supposed to do that. So anytime you do one of these connectors, what you want to do is pull it for 5 seconds. Pull it hard, don't cheat yourself, pull it hard for 5 seconds. If you can pull it hard for 5 seconds, it doesn't come off, you're solid. That is what you want. So you need to do the same thing for this negative wire over here. Shove it in and crimp it. Crimp it good. Once again, 5 second pull test. Always do it and don't cheat yourself. Pull hard. Okay, we're good. All right, so now we need to heat shrink this connector. And once again, it is a marine grade connector. There is adhesive in there that melts when you melt it. I'll show you that in a second. All right, so I got that connected and all heat shrinked, and you probably can't see it on the GoPro, it's too wide, but there is glue oozing out of the ends. But that is what you want with this adhesive lined connectors. It is made to do that. That just makes it all waterproof and sealed up. Also, there is the heat shrink I added to this wire to make it thicker, and as you can see, connected to it just perfect. But now it is time to move down your other heat shrink. I like to put it on and pinch it and make sure it's all even on top of that connector. All right, once you get it even, just go ahead and shrink that. I like to hold the tube and heat shrink the middle first. That way it locks it in place, it doesn't move on you. And the same thing should happen with this tubing. You should be pushing out glue from the ends, and that is how you know you have a solid waterproof connection. I like to evenly make my way around to the end. That way it pushes all the glue out and melts it all. But that is it. That is how you make a marine connection. You can probably see the glue a lot better right there. So that is pretty much how you do all the wiring on your boat. That is a solid connection that will never come apart. It will never let any water in. It's perfect. That's how you do it. Don't take any shortcuts with your wiring, guys. Get marine grade, get all the right connectors, marine connectors, marine. Here, I'll show y'all what it looks like. Marine heat shrink tubing assortment. Adhesive lining. That is what you want for your heat shrink tubing. That's what you want for your connectors, and that way you have no problems. If your connection comes undone or gets wet and gets destroyed down the line, you have to take apart all your jacking, all that crap. You have to get to the electrical and redo it. You don't want to have to deal with that. So this is how I did it on my last boat. It lasted a year perfectly, no problems whatsoever. I know a year isn't very long, but still, it came out looking the exact same way I put it in, doing it this way. So, but that is how you do it, guys. Pretty simple. But we got one more connector to do for this light, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so I got both of those wires connected, and now the light should work. I would like to turn it on for you guys and show y'all that it works, but I still haven't labeled these wires yet, and I need to do that soon because I don't want to get any farther with the wiring without labeling all these first. There's 4 connections, I think, 2 lights, bilge pump, and the nav light. So yeah, 4 different things. There's 8 wires over here that I need to label before I move on with any more wiring, because it's going to be a mess pretty soon. All right, guys, so there is how you do your basic wire connection. Like I said, it's pretty simple. It's just very time consuming. There's so many steps you have to do to each wire connection, but it's easy. Once you get it, it's super easy. And later on down the road, once I get there myself, I will be showing y'all how to wire up fuse blocks, batteries, kill switches, all that stuff. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.